Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. And I wanted to do a video today because I want to celebrate Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins. Like, I know a lot of people are on his hype right now because of the playoff run that he's having, the season that he's had. But I think it's only apropos that we also reflect on how much this man was bagged on throughout his career. And so I want to, in this video, kind of acknowledge how some of these narratives about players tend to frame how we look at them until we see them in a different situation, a different position, and all of a sudden we see a lot of the things that should have also been added to their narrative. And so I'm going to dive into that in this video. If you like it, smash the like button, hit subscribe, the bell for notifications. You know what to do. Something that's dope just about human beings in general is that we're always growing. Human beings are always changing. Human beings are always evolving. Human beings are always learning how to be a better version of themselves, wherever they start off in life. And for Andrew Wiggins, he started off in the top tier percent of athletes in the world. This young man, when he first came onto the scene, born in Canada, was hailed the Canadian Kobe Bryant for a lot of great reasons. Extremely explosive, athletic, 6'9", 7'1" wingspan, maybe like a close to 40-something inch vertical. He could do it all. He could handle the ball. He had a great explosive first step, great agility, skills. He could do just about everything on the court, which a lot of players can do certain things on the court, but it's rare to have a combination of size, athleticism, and skill. And so going into college, he was the number one ranked player of his class, rightfully so, followed by Jabari Parker, guys like Joel Embiid. I believe in that draft there's also like Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle, and some other guys, right? It was actually a highly touted draft class. But going into his year at Kansas, a lot of people watched him play and they were like, okay, this guy is talented. But what they wanted was Jordan. What they wanted was even Kobe. They wanted somebody who was this cutthroat assassin, coming at your neck every night for 50 points, because that had been built up as the prototype of what a successful, desirable, NBA player is supposed to be. They were supposed to be this person who was hyper aggressive, getting in your face, demanding the best from their teammates. A lot of the toxic masculinity stuff that we deal with today in our society amongst men, right? But for everyone who knew who Andrew Wiggins was, he was a real laid back, chill kind of player, really kind of ushering in a new generation of players. It's like, look, I enjoy basketball a lot. I love it even. But I don't feel the need to be what you want me to be in order for me to enjoy this thing that I do. It's almost like the Kawhi Leonard. Oh, we want him to talk more. We want him to do this more. I'm going to be me, right? There's players out there that everybody wants to make them into a mold of something else. And the reality is people are who they are. And they only evolve into better versions of themselves. And so as that season plays out, Andrew Wiggins ends up becoming the number one draft pick, drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, there was a whole discussion that was brought up a long time ago. It's one that's kind of reoccurring, especially as we see Andrew Wiggins in these iterations of him. First time All-Star. He might even, I don't think he made the All-NBA team, but he was an All-Star. He started for the All-Star game this year, and now he's having this great playoff into finals run. And a lot of people have debated and questioned, like, well, should LeBron and the Cavaliers have kept Wiggins instead of Kevin Love? And I think that that's a valid discussion. I think the reasons for not doing so were also valid. That he was a rookie, right? They went to the NBA Finals that year. There was no way that Andrew Wiggins was going to be ready for the pressure of playing next to LeBron James, and to be a contributor for an NBA championship hopeful team that year. But all that's to say is that who Andrew Wiggins has become has been a major benefit of his situation, right? Like one of the things that we discount is that his early career was spent in Minnesota. Probably one of the more, man, just disappointing franchises in NBA history, right? In NBA history, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves have failed over and over again to maximize having talented players on their team since they've been a franchise, whether it was Kevin Garnett, whether it was Kevin Love, um, and then eventually Andrew Wiggins, and then they had the whole Zach LaVine, Laurie Markkinen. They've had a lot of talented guys, and they just have not been able to surround these guys with a winning team, winning coaches, winning front office management, making the right moves, right? The whole Joe Smith debacle during the Kevin Garnett era that cost them first round draft picks, drafting Ndudi Ebe or passing on Stephen Curry to go after, Ricky Rubio and what was it, Flynn, Jordan Flynn or something like that, right? It's just like they just made bad moves after bad move. And so it's to say that, Andrew Wiggins starting off his career in Minnesota was not the best situation. He wasn't going to have great coaching. He wasn't going to have great leadership around him to show him how it's done. He really had to try to figure out how he was going to be his best self in probably one of the worst situations in the NBA. Like there's literally players who refuse to work out for teams like Minnesota because they're like, nah, if I go there, it's going to be a bad career for me, right? And we saw early in Andrew Wiggins' career, he was getting bashed on, number one draft pick, and was not able to elevate this team to get into the playoffs despite how talented he was, right? And even though we blame players, many times we don't look at the circumstance, right? Why don't they have the right veterans? Why don't they keep the right people? I thought they should have kept around Sam Mitchell when he was coaching there, right? Decided to go with somebody else, right? It's just these moves that continue to undermine the development of players and maximizing their potential. One of the things that is always a metric for teams that are going to struggle in terms of over the course of years is that they have a high turnover rate of coaches. They have coaches that they quickly fire because they underperform, right? Despite having success in different areas, right? Or they keep coaches who is overwhelming, is overwhelming, like the Chicago Bulls when they had Boyle, whoever it was, Hoyle, this terrible coach for like 4 or 5 years, right? It's like when they can't seem to get it right and find some consistency in what their plan is, that's how you know this is a badly ran franchise. If you can't create a plan and stick to it and see it through and see success from it, that means that the people in positions of making decisions to create the plan in the first place were the wrong people. And franchises like the Minnesota Timberwolves always have seemed to have had the wrong people. Now, fast forward. The Golden State Warriors, they have their injuries, right? Kevin Durant leaves. They get the trade exemption from him going to Brooklyn. They go out and they get D'Angelo Russell. Minnesota is dumb enough to trade Andrew Wiggins for D'Angelo Russell. And next thing you know, the Warriors get Andrew Wiggins. And at first, I kind of looked at it as like, I knew the Warriors were going to give him a chance. If you listen to Steve Kerr, if you listen to Bob Myers and how they talked about Andrew Wiggins, they were very intent about seeing what he could do in their system. Somebody who was a heavy isolation player, very heliocentric in terms of like the offense evolving around him, being the number one option, being the main guy. Even when Karl Anthony Towns came, he maintained that kind of status. But now in Golden State, where they're like, look, we need ball movement. We need you moving without the ball. We actually are grooming you to be the third option. Can you do this? In the first year, he showed a willingness. I think he was probably impressed with the Golden State Warriors organization, coaching, top to bottom, very classy organization, well ran. Even though I've had my issues with how they initially set things up and the whole moving from Oracle Arena to San Francisco and like completely like nullifying the fan base in the East Bay and South Bay that like really carried them throughout a lot of years of this franchise when they weren't that good. Now going to San Francisco, and you got a lot of transient people who just like moved into San Francisco who now get front row seats when the team's at their best. That was my little soapbox. I wasn't cool about that, but it's to say that they still have a well-ran organization. And Andrew Wiggins had to have been impressed with that. He had to have been impressed with how when you have that consistency within a franchise, you can stop worrying about other things. You're not worried about if you're going to have a new coach, new offensive and defensive scheme, right? You're not worried about is this player going to get traded and now we have to reshuffle our depth chart and our roles on this team, right? The moment he got there, they outlined who he was for this team, what they were going to expect, and what they wanted from him. And they've maintained that. And if anything, he's been able to grow into that position. You know, I say that some players are all-stars and then some players are all-star role players. And we look at somebody like a Mikal Bridges, he's an all-star role player. That's why he gets paid so much, because in his role, he plays it phenomenally, right? Draymond Green is an all-star role player. He's not an all-star. You can't drop him anywhere, and he's going to flourish and become this amazing player, right? That's an all-star. That's a Stephen Curry. That's a Klay Thompson, right? Andrew Wiggins, he is a all-star role player, right? And we saw it this year. It all kind of came together, right? I think he was with the Warriors for 1 year or 2 years. I think 2 years before this season. And he's had an opportunity to adjust his game. He's had an opportunity to learn how to move better off the ball, to trust his teammates that when he moves off the ball, they're going to still find him. And it's the benefit of playing with a guy like Draymond Green, Stephen Curry, who are so unselfish. And then on top of that, being sandwiched between two really good defenders in Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. Andrew Wiggins is now able to play this amazing, phenomenal on-ball defense, which he's always been able to do, but he was always kind of more suspect as a help defender, team defender. But when you have Draymond Green and Kayvon Looney and Klay Thompson covering your back, and even Stephen Curry to a large extent, who are all really good team defenders, it only amplifies what Andrew Wiggins is able to do on the defensive end. And so what you're seeing is a perfect situation, the culmination of having the right pieces around a guy that allows him to be maximized to his fullest potential. And so it's one of those things that right now what we're seeing is a beautiful picture of what it looks like when a player is able to find the right situation. You know, many times we see these narratives come out through ESPN and, you know, the whole Stephen A. Smiths of the world who just kind of like regurgitate and barf out whatever it is that, a ESPN or even NBA ownership wants to be said in order to control narratives for contracts and shit like that, right? And so they'll just say this player is underperforming, right? And they'll never look at the organization, right? They'll say this player needs to be doing more, and they never look at the coaching selection or that you've changed coaches 3 years in a row, right? Those things are never looked at. They just blame the player. But now, when you have a player who can be in a better situation, you begin to see the shifting of a narrative. And right now, what we're beginning to see is that Andrew Wiggins is going to be seen not just as a talented player, but also a talented winning player. Something that Rudy Gay had a similar kind of trajectory, if not for his injuries, right? If he didn't, rupture his Achilles, I think it was in Sacramento. Was it Sacramento or Memphis? But he would have probably evolved into this, especially going to a team like the San Antonio Spurs and now the Utah Jazz, right? Extremely talented player who could never seem to put it all together to be everything we wanted them to be. But later in their career, as they continue to grow, as they continue to refine their skills and learn the game, they begin to maximize who they could become. And when they find good situations, like with the Spurs, right, they're able to then begin to shift, right? Now, this is what we're seeing this season. Andrew Wiggins has shifted. He has officially shifted. There's no going back to the heliocentric, it's all about me, one-on-one player, low efficiency, struggling to be what a team needs to raise them out of the lottery into the playoffs, right? He's not going back to that situation, right? He's not going to Charlotte. He's not going to a team like that. He's going to be considered a winning player. And the teams that are going to pursue him, he's going to be a free agent next year. The teams that are going to be pursuing him are going to be teams looking to take that step and to get back either into the playoffs, who are, right on that edge, or teams who are at the entry level, maybe the play-in, like a Atlanta Hawks, or a team like the San Antonio Spurs, right, who have been winning, but need that right piece to fit. And they don't need him to be the primary player, right? They need him to be exactly what he's being for the Golden State Warriors, right? Even a team like the Miami Heat, right? Milwaukee Bucks. These teams are going to be drawn towards an Andrew Wiggins. And so I want to say kudos. Kudos. I applaud Andrew Wiggins and the Golden State Warriors because Andrew Wiggins deserved this opportunity. He didn't deserve to be stuck in a moribund franchise like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who no matter what you give out, you're never going to get the return, right? But now he's in a position where he gets to fully maximize who he can become. And if anything, he gets to show that he's always been this level of player. But now he's been able to position himself, which is why also I'm a big proponent of doing away with the draft. And I'm going to dive into this probably in another video. But allowing players to choose at the beginning of their careers where they want to start their career, I think is really important to build that team continuity and that commitment to a franchise rather than drafting players to places that they may have never wanted to go in the first place. All that's to say is, Andrew Wiggins, yo, you have arrived. You have officially arrived. And I applaud you because it's rare that players get an opportunity to write their own script, that they get a chance to position themselves someplace where they get to say, I get to show the world who I am, who I believe I am, and not just be kind of castigated under these narratives created for me by other people. And so, Andrew Wiggins, you're balling out. Keep it up. I think you're going to finish out this series great. I think the Warriors are probably going to take it. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. If you like this video, smash the like button. This was a fun conversation. I look forward to having more. I might have to do this whole NBA draft conversation as well. But yeah, I'm going to holler at y'all next time. This is The Rock Never Stops. Smash the like button, hit subscribe to bell for notifications, and I'm out, y'all. Peace.